That is a woman being dragged into a van, abducted on a city street in broad daylight. There are many more, and they are hard to watch. Amnesty International reports police are physically assaulting women and girls or throwing them into vans, taking away for violations as minors clothing that shows the shape of their body or other supposed transgressions. The United Nations Human Rights Commission found that many of the government's actions amount to crimes against humanity. The United States Commission on International Religious Freedom, it is a federal commission, released a statement saying that, quote, the relentless and pervasive assaults against innocent Iranian women and girls by Iran's morality police must be unequivocally condemned by the U.S. government and the international community. A woman in Iran was even sentenced to death for adultery in November. So with all that, you might think this would be a big international story, especially with Iran using their attack on Israel as cover to intensify its war on women. The mentions are few and far between, and they were virtually nowhere to be found when they initiated the crackdown. Now, instead, we heard about Iran's supreme leader praising the campus protests, and at those protests, nothing about this crackdown. Where's the outrage? Where are the protests? We keep hearing these protests are about human rights, and specifically about women and children. No protests for the women and girls in Iran facing what the UN says amount to crimes against humanity? By the way, the White House hasn't said much about it either. Joining us now is Elica Le Bon, an Iranian-American attorney and activist who's speaking out about what is going on there. Thank you very much for being here. We really appreciate it. All right, so let you, in your own words, explain what's going on. I've given an overview here of what's been happening in Iran, but tell us, what exactly are they doing?
Well, I mean, there's several things that are going on here, as you showed that video, which is deeply disturbing, and it's incredibly difficult to watch. They are not only cracking down on women who are not wearing hijab. It's not as simple as an arrest, a citation, a trial with due process. As you see, there's many more layers to this. They first strip her of her clothes. That is to humiliate and embarrass her. And then they wrap a towel around her head, so you can't even identify her. You don't know if she's even able to breathe. You don't know if she's suffocating. You don't know what happens to this woman once she's thrown into the back of the van. And this is the reality for women in Iran who dare to defy these strict dress codes. You never find out what happens to them. You never find out if they're dead or alive. You never find out if they go to trial. Their families are intimidated and threatened if they dare to speak up. And so as bad as it is, as much as we see, that's just the tip of the iceberg of the reality that women are facing in Iran on a daily basis that most of us will never even find out about, because the Islamic Republic is very, very, very sophisticated in carrying out these extremely clandestine operations and using distractions so that the world doesn't pay attention.
Are you surprised that many in the American left in particular haven't been protesting, haven't been talking about this?
No, I'm not surprised at all. I'm not surprised for many reasons. The first reason is that it's not the narrative. Both the left and the right, they choose to adopt a narrative, and there has to be strict conformity to that narrative. There's no deviation from that narrative. Iran is a deviation from the narrative that's been accepted by the left. The second reason is that this is the Islamic Republic that they have to be protesting against. And many people on the left have now turned their attention to supporting the Islamic Republic because of their funding and training of some of these proxies that they now support themselves. So to be honest, no, it isn't surprising to me at all that they don't have any interest in coming out and condemning and protesting these things. And the other aspect of it is the reality that the narrative of this of the left right now is that there's no evil in the world other than white supremacy. It's the single only evil in the world. And anything else, any crimes, horrors committed by anybody who isn't upholding white supremacy, who cares, right? Because that doesn't matter. So there's a combination of things that have prohibited the same people who champion human rights and defy human rights abuses on a daily basis that are so hypocritical that they cannot speak out on one of the most gruesome experiences that's happening in the world right now.
And to be clear, this is like an official policy from the government. It's not even that they're doing it in the shadows.
It's an official policy. They have, a lot of these laws under Sharia law, but there's also catch-all. There's catch-all laws that are corruption on earth and moharebe, which means waging war against God. So regardless of even if you don't fall into one of these categories, one of these prescribed laws necessarily, you always come down and get convicted on that catch-all, which is corruption on earth, which essentially means anything.
Yeah.
So it's very, very broad, and it allows anybody to be convicted of defying the Islamic regime.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your cable provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.